It appears the Nigerians traveling by air may be in for one of the most expensive pricing regimes in local airfares as the Yuletide approaches. This is because airfares have been on the increase in the last few months owing to the scarcity of foreign exchange and the increasing cost of Jet A1, among other factors. Beyond the challenges, one good development is the acquisition of aircraft by local airline operators to meet the prospective high passenger demand during the Yuletide, when passenger traffic more than doubles that of the previous months. That's where attention tilts on this edition. Plus, an independently developed firefighting aircraft is unveiled at the Airshow China. A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. Let's take to the skies. Air transport is an important enabler to achieving economic growth and development. Air transport facilitates integration into the global economy and provides vital connectivity on a national and international scale. It helps generate trade, promote tourism, and create employment opportunities. In the United States, U.S. airports did experience a surge in passengers over the Thanksgiving holiday in November, with the number of travelers reaching the highest level in 3 years. Travel group AAA estimates that nearly 55 million Americans did take to the roads, skies and rails for the holiday, with air travel recovering to about 99% of pre-pandemic levels. But staffing and aircraft shortages have capped the airlines industry's ability to ramp up capacity, leading to fewer seats and higher fares for travelers. Higher fuel costs are also driving prices up too. Domestic airfare for Thanksgiving in November was 17% higher than a year ago and similar to 2019 prices. According to travel app Opera, international airfare was 30% higher than that in 2019. But that did not stop travelers like retired Army veteran James Sullivan, who was heading to Georgia to see relatives.
I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be doing extensive or excessive traveling, just to make up for the lost time of not seeing family or just the fact of getting out and doing some things,
Another traveler also came to a similar realization.
The airports are definitely a lot busier now, what with some of the restrictions being lifted, but it's definitely gotten a lot pricier, which makes sense. It's probably closer to pre-pandemic pricing. For a while there, I got round-trip tickets for probably $80, but now I feel like they're probably closer to like $400.
Meanwhile, domestic carriers in Nigeria have been battling to keep their operations up. But the Russian-Ukraine crisis also set fuel prices on the high, with Jet A1 taking the knock and sending airfares out of the reach of most regular travelers. It's no longer just the prices, but availability of Jet A1 is now kicking in.
Airline operation is in dollar, and the dollars have become scarce, not very easy to come by. Where you come by is a lot of money to be paid for you to get them. And our fares are not commensurate with the costs of operations. And that's the only way we get revenue, through fares. We go a long way to helping us. All this importation of aviation fuel will never solve anything. This is a country that sits on oil. I don't see the reason why we should be importing PMS and Jet A1 fuel.
This situation is also driving airfares out of the reach of passengers as the Yuletide approaches.
Well, the ticket is 110,000. The fares are quite high, they're very high.
I said the price ticket is very high, and not many people can afford the price ticket right now. So the government should do something about it. And even the aircraft is half fuel right now. Very few people can afford. I think the price is even going to 90-something thousand naira per flight. I bought my own about 50-something, but I bought it much earlier, before the hike in price. In fact, it was supposed to have gone more than this, but because of that, we had to reduce until myself and my wife and the children are not here. So the price is, ridiculously high.
It's difficult for a lot of families The economic situation we find ourselves in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. And so this period that everybody will want to go home, having toiled all through the year, they want to go back to their homes to celebrate with their families. We will expect that government will step in somehow to push down the prices of the tickets, because there is no road, so you don't even have an alternative, Our roads are so bad that going on road journey is almost, close to suicide mission. So the only one we have is air travel. And so we're appealing to government and even the aviation industry to see what they can do for Nigerians so we can go back to our villages.
Airfares may be climbing as the Yuletide approaches, but there's an obvious relief as aircraft capacity in the country is upped. Arik Air, Air Peace, Dana Air, and United Nigerians have injected more aircraft in their fleets. Dana and Aero contractors have also returned to service after months of being out of service. Already, airline operators and travelers have been put on the alert for the most likely impact of Harmattan haze on air travel. That's coming from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. The agency in its forecast said air turbulence and bird strike would combine to cause flight delays and cancellations during the Yuletide. On our interview segment, recently appointed Managing Director of Aero Contractors, Captain Ado Sanusi, is our guest. This time, he bears his mind on the aircraft acquisition by some airlines, which he believes would deepen capacity at the Yuletide. There's more from him.
Most of the oil marketers have reserves for the Christmas season, and I'm very confident that they have learned the mistakes of the past, and so many of them have storage facilities now, and their storage facilities is quite ready for the Christmas season. And of course, there is a surge in wet lease aircrafts, so there will be a lot of flight. And I'm very happy for that, because that would mean that the flying public would not have to pay a lot of money as they used to, because there are a lot of capacity. All the aircrafts that you have seen Aero is flying, they are 5 November airplane. What does 5 November mean? That means they are Nigerian registered airplane. So they are either owned or dry leased. Now, I don't believe wet lease is a long-term solution to any airline, as I said. I believe it's a short-term solution. When your airplanes go for maintenance, you bring an airplane for 2-3 months to ensure that you are not making that profit, but you are satisfying your passengers. So you are not cancelling flight, you are not reducing capacity. But the way I see the Nigerian market flourishing with wet lease, it bothers me actually, because it tells me that there's something wrong. If these wet leases are going on for a longer period of time, then there's something wrong with Nigerian aviation. Because in all aviation industries around the world, wet leases are temporary. And with established airlines in this country, I don't think wet lease should be the way forward. I believe dry lease should be the first option. And then second, well, the first option of course is to buy if you have the capacity, if you have the finances. But second part is of course to dry lease. And then the last option, which is temporary, will be wet lease. Oh, it's a blessing for us. I hope they will open the central taxiway soon. It's a blessing because it's going to reduce the cost of operation in the airlines, because now we have to land. Before, we have to land at the international runway on the 18 right, and then you taxi, and you taxi for minimum 10 minutes. Because remember, when you're taxiing, and especially in the evenings when the international airlines are going out, you have to stay, sometimes you have to hold for them to come out and go, so you probably spend easy 15-20 minutes taxiing. And you can imagine how much it will cost running your engines for 15-20 minutes. So there's a lot of, apart from burning fuel, there's a lot of wear and tear on your brakes, on your tires, a lot of cycles, hours that you put on the airframe and everything. So of course, it is it's a blessing for us. It will make the airlines reduce their costs, and it's so convenient for pilots to come in, land on 18 and taxi to just less than 5 minutes. You taxi to the terminal building. So I think it's a welcome development, and I flew recently and I saw the job they've done. I have to commend the federal government through fund that they have put a standard runway lighting, and my prayer is they keep those lights intact. For once we have got it right. They have put all the lights that's supposed to be put, the runway center light, the touchdown lights, perfectly working. I hope they will not end up with disco balls. I pray that those lights will be there for the foreseeable future.
A pioneering British jet suit company is giving superhuman powers to the response of emergency services for search and rescue missions in remote locations in the north of England. Jamie Walsh, a Great North Air Ambulance paramedic, is the first of 3 trainees to fly the Gravity Industries jet suit in the steep hills of the Lake District just after 6 lessons.
Initially, when I was told about this, I thought, it's impossible. And then it starts to become possible, and then actually you start to see the trials of what's achievable. And now I feel like there is a place where this can benefit patients. Where normally I work through the day on a helicopter, obviously on days like today where we've got sort of low-lying mist and fog, the helicopter's going to struggle to sort of get there and get up there. And you know, there's a bit of a gap between what the aircraft can achieve getting us there in poor weather, and us getting there hiking up on foot, deploying from a car, and hopefully, you know, this gives us the opportunity to look at other options to get care to those patients quickly.
Jet suit inventor and developer Richard Browning flew a test route up Elvelyn, completing a 750 meters climb over a 2-kilometer distance in around 3 minutes 40 seconds.
If you think of the cost of a paramedic helicopter and all the crew involved and the maintenance and everything, actually this is a fraction of that. So actually I have no doubt that it has its place in the sort of portfolio of equipment that these kind of professionals have at their fingertips.
The 3D printed suit consists of 2 small turbines attached to each arm and a larger one mounted on the back. It can reach speeds in excess of 128 kilometers per hour and is technically capable of reaching an altitude of 12,000 feet. But for safety reasons, is flown much lower.
This journey started around a year ago with the Great North Air Ambulance Service, who asked us to come up and trial this concept, and it works so well that we've spent the time in the interim, alongside all the other things we do in Gravity, actually developing the equipment further so it can fly, you know, faster and further for longer, and also training up some of the paramedics as well.
The next stage of the project is to get the paramedic flight skills to a level where real emergency assistance will arrive via jet suit paramedics. When we return after the break, our feature is next. Do join us again. At the Air Show China, the AG-600M firefighting aircraft debuted. It's a key type of aeronautical equipment of China's emergency rescue system, independently developed by China to meet the needs of firefighting and marine rescue missions. The AG-600M firefighting aircraft is a full configuration firefighting model belonging to the AG-600 large amphibious aircraft family developed by the Aviation Industry Corporation of China. Codenamed Konglong, the AG-600 is part of China's key fleet of independently developed large aircraft together with a Y-20 large transporter and C-919 single-aisle passenger airplane.
The AG-600 has a maximum takeoff weight of 60 tons, a fuselage length of 39 meters and a nearly 39-meter wingspan. It is a veritable large aircraft, different from conventional transport aircraft. The AG-600 is designed for forest firefighting and marine rescue missions. It is a key type of aeronautical equipment urgently needed for China's emergency rescue system and natural disaster response system. It also demonstrates China's composite national strength and embodies China's self-reliance in sky tech innovation.
The AG-600 has a maximum takeoff weight of 60 tons, a fuselage length of 39 meters and a nearly 39-meter wingspan. It's a veritable large aircraft. Different from conventional transport aircraft, the AG-600 is designed for forest firefighting and marine rescue missions. 2 AG-600 firefighting aircraft with new coatings were displayed at the 14th China International Aviation and Aerospace Exhibition, also known as Airshow China. A faulty automatic engine throttle system that was not properly monitored by pilots is the cause of the deadly January 2021 crash of a Sriwijaya 737-500 jet. A final report by Indonesia's air accident investigator has revealed 62 people on board died in what was Indonesia's third major commercial plane crash in just over 6 years, shining a spotlight on the country's poor air safety record. Indonesia's National Transportation Safety Committee said investigators found it difficult to analyze the situation in the cockpit of the 26-year-old jet because the captain's voice was not recorded. Reports say there had been no regulations and guidelines on upset prevention and recovery training by airlines that ensured a pilot's ability to help prevent unusual situations from occurring and recover from them in a timely manner if they did occur. The airline has since carried out such training for its pilots. Air traffic management is an aviation term encompassing all systems that assist aircraft to depart from an aerodrome, transit airspace, and land at a destination aerodrome, consisting of air traffic services including air traffic control, airspace management, and air traffic flow and capacity management. Ensuring that aircraft remain safe in the skies is not possible without navigation facilities, which falls under the purview of the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. The increasing emphasis of modern air transport management is on interoperable and harmonized systems that allow an aircraft to operate with a minimum of performance change from one airspace to another. Air traffic control systems have traditionally been developed by individual states, concentrating on their own requirements, creating different levels of service and capability around the world.
So we have fully deployed the satellite earth stations or the VSATs in these 14 locations to give a complete voice communication air-ground network for Nigeria for the upper airspace, controlled in Kano and in Lagos. But this has improved significantly a pilot-controller voice communication within the upper airspace where had a few challenges in the past.
Beyond the safety and management of the airspace, the Airspace Management Agency in Nigeria is also concerned with the level of piracy, oil theft, and other forms of criminal activities in the Gulf of Guinea, and is soon to complete a $12.9 million wide area multilateration project that will provide surveillance for low-flying helicopters, unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as monitoring coastal areas for ships. To deepen its activities around the Niger Delta area, transmitters and receivers are being installed by NAMA across 29 locations, with the centralized system domiciled in Port Harcourt.
And knowing the strategic nature of this sector, its strategic nature to the economy, and control them within the entire Niger Delta. So it is part of the multilateration project because we have low-flying drones and also low-flying manned aircraft or helicopters within the same sector. Most of them carrying out the same either logistics supplies or carrying out pipeline monitoring or inspections of helipads, helidecks, or also carrying out security surveillance within the Niger Delta. So they operate within the same airspace, and so this multilateration project provides us with capability for surveillance, for monitoring, for control of both manned aircraft and unmanned aircraft operating within that area.
The Airspace Agency is also incorporating unmanned aircraft tracking management system, that is a surveillance and management system that detects drones, or what we refer to as remotely pilot aircraft systems, or unmanned aerial vehicle flying around the Niger Delta region. Complementing the work the NAMA is doing, the federal government has also appointed a firm to ensure that the over 200 helicopters operating on and offshore in the country pay landing fees as a means of improving its internally generated revenue in the aviation sector, as stated in the new Nigerian Airspace Management Agency Act. With this action, the federal government aims to block financial leakages, especially in international and local oil companies' operations, both onshore and offshore. In South Africa, Semakaleng Mathabula expertly fires up the burner, aims a giant blue-orange flame towards the multicolored balloon, and watches as it fills with hot air and begins to lift off the ground. The 27-year-old is South Africa's first black hot air balloon pilot and one of the few female pilots in the field. What used to feel unattainable is now part of her weekly routine.
Growing up, I had never seen a hot air balloon. There's no balloons flying over Harangua. My interests were cooking, accounting. At some point, I wanted to do media, but ballooning was not something that was in reach for me. When I was introduced to the sport, it was this new and exciting field. And when I found my feet, I realized it goes beyond marketing. You found me on the field trying to retrieve and crew with everyone else. You found me in the kitchen trying to make sure the guests are eating and they're all happy. And then when the opportunity presented itself by the scholarship with the Department of Sport and Recreation and the Balloon and Airship Federation of South Africa, BAFSA, all the pilots put my name forward and I applied, and here I was being a pilot.
Soon, buildings grew small, and she was floating over rivers and farmland, as well as the sunrise, maneuvering the balloon and taking in the view against a yellow sky. Mathabula found her way into ballooning by accident after struggling to find employment. She consulted a recruitment agency which helped her find a job as a marketing assistant at a hot air balloon tour company. She was smithing and later got a scholarship to do her pilot training from the Department of Sport and Recreation and the Balloon and Airship Federation of South Africa. She earned a license last year. A coach says this is the infusion of new blood into the arena.
We really need new blood, younger blood in the sports thing, because a bunch of us, as we're growing old, and we need to get new people in, and this is why it's so nice to have people like Sema and some of the other kids that's trained now and busy training, because it's new. It's not just new opportunities, it's new viewpoints and new aspirations and stuff like that. And we need to be able, I think years back ballooning was a very exclusive club, whereas now it's becoming more open and open.
Mathabula also says she's keen to be an ambassador for the sport and hopes to bring in more youth and diversity. That's all on the show. Do join us next week for another edition. I'm Bukola Jo Oketumbi. Bye for now.